yesterday you became the first Democrat in the New York delegation to call for Biden to step aside. Obviously, it was a huge deal. Talk to me about the why and what brought you to this point, because it was a statement that sounded somewhat different than the one you sent out the day before, which was calling on Trump to drop out instead.
What I think we're at a point, given the existential threat to our democracy from Trump, where it was, I felt, my patriotic duty to make clear we need the strongest possible candidate to defeat Trump, to defeat what he stands for, to stop this Project 2025 plan right out of the authoritarian playbook that would rip freedoms away from a lot of Americans, that would give more power and money to big corporations, gut Social Security, and more. We have to stop Trump, who is unfit for office. And I still believe deeply that Joe Biden is a patriot and a person of integrity, but we have to be clear-eyed that, in my view, he's no longer the strongest candidate to beat Trump. And so that's why I called on him, really for the good of the country, yesterday to step aside, to honor the promise he made to be a bridge to the next generation of leaders, and really offer a stark contrast, by the way, to the GOP that are lockstep behind Trump, who we know would be devastating for my constituents and for the country.
So speaking to that, as you know, President Biden won New York by 23 points 4 years ago, but now the recent polling shows Biden and Trump within single digits, which, in a deep blue state with one party rule is pretty stunning. The Hudson Valley, now considered to be the top battleground in New York. How did that factor into your decision making here?
Well, I really thought about this from the conversations I had with constituents more than anything. That's my foundational responsibility in the oath that I took. And so I was hearing from them, especially over the last few weeks, as I was home at 4th of July barbecues and the fireworks at West Point, and hearing from folks, an understanding of the threat from Trump, but also really concern, deep concern, that Biden would be able to prosecute the case against Trump and draw that contrast, which we have to do. In my view, it all goes back to that oath: support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And not speaking up at this critical moment, to me, would have been a disservice to my constituents.
So I'm sure you were prepared for this, but yesterday your statement really sparked a lot of chatter in New York. I mean, it dominated all of my social media feeds all day. And the one thing I think it made clear, was how divided lawmakers are when it comes to the next steps for President Biden, at least here in New York. I was in touch with a number of the congressional Democrats who represent, the lower Hudson Valley, Long Island, New York City. And majority of the ones that I spoke to, they were somewhat hesitant to go as far as you did in your statement in terms of calling for him to officially step aside. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think that more Democrats downstate will ultimately follow your lead, as opposed to the alternative?
Each of us owe our, we're accountable to our constituents and to the Constitution. And so each representative has to make that decision when what they think is best. I think it's really important, though, to contrast. My opponent, every Republican across the country, is now lockstep behind Trump. And we know what he's already done to divide and harm our country, and what, even more egregiously, he said he will do going forward. And I think, in a small d Democratic way, having this discussion about who is right to challenge him, who is right to bring the country forward as Trump wants to bring it backwards, that's actually the democracy that I think was in the minds of our founders and outlined in our Constitution. So I think that's an important thing for folks to understand. The Democratic Party's listening, hearing these concerns, and having the conversation, and certainly the GOP is not.
Okay, so if not Joe Biden, who would you, Congressman Ryan, like to see at the top of the ticket?
Well, the good news is we have a whole deep bench of proven, exceptional leaders in the party, and really the next generation, from, of course, the vice president. We've got incredible governors, from Governor Whitmer to Governor Shapiro, Governor Wes Moore, who's a fellow veteran, a good friend, Secretary Buttigieg, and other great cabinet leaders. I mean, we and the American people have great choices that could clearly prosecute the case against a convicted felon who tried to overturn the election, who wants a national abortion ban, who wants to gut Social Security, who wants to give more tax breaks to big corporations and billionaires. So that's the opportunity that we have. And I think it's exciting, actually.
Okay, so let's stick with some names here, right? The Vice President, Kamala Harris. I'm going to throw some others out there. Governor Pritzker of Illinois, California Governor Gavin Newsom. You mentioned Governor Whitmore from Michigan, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. There's the Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Pick the two of the names that I just mentioned that you think have the strongest chances of beating Donald Trump.
Well, I think that's in our wonderful democratic system. I'll get one vote on that, but there's millions of others that should have a vote, which is why I talked about having, it's a compressed timeline. It's somewhat unprecedented, but has happened before in the country and happens in other countries around the world, by the way, shorter, tighter elections. So I think we need to have an open process for the American people to really see and decide. And again, that will be very different than how the Republicans are going to approach their convention next week, where they're just going to sort of rally behind the authoritarian candidate who said he wants to be a dictator on day one.
But do you think this is a decision that should be made well before the DNC, or should this be decided on the floor?
I think we got to figure out the process. The key to me is involve the maximum number of people in what is admittedly a short time, but certainly a time window we can work with. And then let that play out. And so those conversations are happening about how to do that in the best way. We have some precedent, not a lot. But again, I think this is, even going back to my time in the Army, when the situation changes, you've got to adjust. And this is so important and existential, really, I think, to our country and to the economic well-being of my constituents, that we have the right leader guiding us forward.
President Biden is holding a big press conference tonight, as you're aware. Is there anything that the president can say in this presser tonight that has the ability to change your mind about what you've said here?
Well, I certainly didn't come to this decision lightly, and it was largely informed by talking to my constituents, who, in response to my call yesterday, had been almost universally in support of that decision, although everyone recognizing it is a tough decision that the president has been really historic in a positive way in terms of what he's accomplished, his integrity, his selflessness. And so I wouldn't have said what I said if I didn't believe that to be the best course.
Okay, got it. And I see I only have a minute here and you're on a tight schedule. So
Sorry.
I just want to push you here a little bit more to get some like top 3 names for you on who you think should replace Biden at the top of the ticket, being that you were the first Democrat to come out and make this statement in Deep Blue, New York. So give me your top 3. We'll compromise. How's that?
Well, I think, of course, Vice President Harris has done a great job, and would do a great job. I think Governor Westmore, to me, is a true servant leader who served in uniform, risked his life for the country, done a great job as governor in a bunch of ways. I think Governor Shapiro's great, Governor Whitmer. I mean, like I said, there's a bench of great next generation leaders, which the other side certainly doesn't have, as they rally behind an increasingly delusional and dangerous Trump.
We very much appreciate your time on a busy morning. Is there anything else I haven't asked you that you want to add to our conversation here?
I think we covered it. What I'm optimistic about is I've just heard over and over from my constituents, they're losing faith and trust in our whole democratic system. They feel like neither party is listening to them. So the opportunity here for the Democratic Party to listen to the people and who are saying, we want a different choice here, is tremendously energizing and would show that the party is listening to the people, which in a democracy is how it should work. So I think I'm still very much optimistic about the future of the country and the future of our community.